In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started making a professional poster, whether it's for the Service Learning Symposium or the SOURCE Conference. The example I'm using here is for the Service Learning Symposium. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to title it with my last name and Service Learning Symposium poster. Next, you're going to share it by clicking the yellow share button in the upper right hand corner with Dr. McGinnis and your group members. Once you've typed in everyone's email address, you'll hit the blue Done button. Once you've done that, you're going to click the share button one more time and come down here where it says Get Link, and you're going to change it to anyone with the link, and that way you have a link that can be viewed and people that have the link can view your poster. So let's hit Done. Next, we need to set our poster size to 36 inches by 24 inches. So we will come down to File and choose Page Setup down here on the left. And under the widescreen drop-down menu, we're going to click and choose Custom. This is already set to inches, so we're going to put 36 and 24 in there. Then hit Apply. And now our poster is 36 inches by 24 inches. Coming back to our creating a professional poster presentation that was sent to us by the Service Learning Office, you see they have a font size chart here. Make sure you're following this and that your fonts are not too small. Also make sure they're not too large. This is going to be a large size poster, so you're going to need some larger fonts here than you normally use. If you come over here, on the far right in the corner, you see that 12-point font that we normally use will not be viewable here. So just make sure that you check that out and that you're sticking to the font sizes recommended on the font size chart. Coming back to my poster presentation, I am looking at the poster presentation checklist here. The next thing I need to do is add a title. So I'm going to click in this text box that says Title, and I'm going to call this Title. So the next thing I need to do is I need to shrink my font down according to the font size chart from the Creating a Professional Poster slideshow. I've got my title selected here, and I'm going to type in 98 because that's the size I want it to be. One thing we want to make sure we do is over here where you see it says Shrink Text on an Overflow, let's click on that and tell it Do Not Autofit, because we don't want this to change the size of our fonts. It'll make our poster look messy and inconsistent. Now I'm going to mouse over this blue square here at the top of my text box and drag it down so it fits my text. Next, I need to move my title up to the top of my poster. So I'm moving it up here to the top. You could also put it on the bottom. I like the top here. I'm going to center my text. And I need to add a border, which is also mentioned in the Creating a Professional Poster slideshow. To add a border, I'm going to come over here to the Border Weight button. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to choose 4 pixels for mine because that's what I want. You can pick any size you want, just make sure that it's consistent. So if you choose 4, make sure you're choosing 4 for all of your boxes that you're using. So now you see that I have my title, it's in a box, it looks really nice. Next, coming over and checking out the poster presentation checklist, I need to add the authors, the faculty, the course, and the community partner name. So I'm going to use this box that's already here. I'm going to align it left so it's got better visual design. When you have boxes with small text in them that's not a title, you want to make sure that you are not aligning it center because it is inconsistent for viewers and it looks messy. So I'm going to change my font size here to 48 because that was one of the ones that was suggested on the font size chart. I'm going to type in the author names, the class, professor, community partner, and the date. And again, you see over here on the left, this sneaky little shrink text is popping up again. I don't want it to change my text size, so I'm going to come here and tell it to Do Not Autofit, and then I'm just going to stretch my text box so the font fits within the text box. Google is very useful, and then it has a Customize Your Autofit Defaults, which is something that you can get into and do on your own. Now let's click on this text box and add our 4-pixel border to it. So now I'm going to put this down in the bottom corner. Again, it's your poster, you can put it wherever you want. This is just where I'm putting it. The last thing I'm going to do with this text box is I'm going to highlight the text and switch it all to black. So now the text is all the same color throughout the whole poster. I'm only going to change the color when I want to emphasize something. Now that I've got those two things added, I need to add the logo of my community partner organization. To do that, I'm going to come up to the Add Image button. I'm going to choose Upload from Computer, and there is my downloaded image. So I'm going to drag the image over where I want it. And the nice thing about Google is that it lets you know this is the same height as the box below it, but I want it to be the same width as the box below it. And so you see this blue line here that shows up, shows me that these two boxes are the same width. So now I have my Safe Harbor graphic as well as the author names, and they're both the same size. Next, I need to add a box where I can describe my community partner, my project description, project goals, and a reflection on how the service learning affected me and helped the community. To add another text box, you can come here to Insert and Text Box, or you can just choose this text box button here, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to make this a medium-sized text box. And you see the red line on the far right side has these two boxes aligned. I'm going to add my 4-pixel border. I'm also going to shut off this pesky autofit. Next, you see the little cursor up in the top here is really small. I'm going to take a look at my font size chart again, and I'm going to pick a font that is large enough for a subtitle or a box heading. I'm going to set this first font to be 66 points. And this is the project description. I'm going to hit enter, and now I'm going to shrink the font down to what is a standard text. I used 48 point here, so I'm also going to use 48 point here. And now I'm going to add a description of my project. Now that I've added this description, you see the text looks a little weird. See how tight this text is to the edge of the box and how nice this one looks? To make the boxes look more similar, I'm going to click in the author box, and I'm going to right click and go to Format Options. So here, under Format Options, you see the text fitting is set to 0.38 padding. I think that looks nicer than the project description text box. So I'm going to click in the project description text box, and here you see the padding is only 0.1. I'm going to change that to 0.38 for each of these sides. And now that looks better. One other thing I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of space underneath my subheading here. So I'm going to choose line spacing, and let's just add a space after paragraph. That looks better. Something else I could do is if I want to make it blue, we could do something like that. And I need to shrink my box to the size of the text. Now I've got a really nice start here. Underneath the project description, I think I want to add an image, so I'm going to come back to Insert Image, and because my image is in the Google Drive, I'm going to select Drive, and I'm going to search for Donation Box. There is the donation box I want to use. I will choose Insert, and here is my image. I'm going to move it below my project description, and on the right you see these little guides are showing me that these are the same space apart, which is what we want. We want consistency. We want this to look neat. Again, the blue guide is showing us that these are the same size. Now that those are there in the same size, there's a little awkward white space down here at the bottom. I'm going to move my image down, and so the image is in line with my other bottom image, and I have the space moved up here. I'm going to drag the size of this box down so these match. And I'm going to add a little bit more about my project. So I'm going to hit the Enter key and talk a little bit about what we gathered for the group. I'm going to highlight this paragraph, and come to the line spacing, and I'm going to add a space after the paragraph to just move that down a little bit. So now you see that I've got that side of my poster set up pretty well because it's got my project description, an image from the project I created, and a little bit more description of the kinds of things that we gather. Now I need to add a couple more text boxes. So I'm going to use this center area here, and I'm going to select the text box button. I'm going to start my text box down here at the bottom, and I'm going to just fill this whole space right there. And you see the blue guides are telling me that the spacing between these two elements is the same. I'm going to get the pesky resize button and do not autofit. I'm going to set my 4-pixel border. I'm going to change my font size. So this one is 66, and I also want this one to be 66 and blue. That way it matches the other font that I'm using. I'm going to call this one Reflection. I see these two fonts don't match, so let's click that. Alright, we're using this one here. I'm going to click this, make sure I'm choosing the same one, and then I need to select my text fit and make these all 0.38. Alright, now I have my reflection ready. I have a 48-point font in black, so I'm going to hit Enter after reflection and change this to 48 points and black, and I'm going to reflect on what I did with this group. Here you see I've added bullet points with some things that we learned from the project. I'm going to add a little space after each element. That way it looks a little more consistent, and I'm going to stretch this text box a little bit bigger. Line spacing, space after list items, so those look a little more spaced out. And now my font fits the box and fits the text. And I'm going to move this down here, and you see the blue guides are showing me that the box is going to be touching the bottom and is the same space from the other pieces. So from here you're going to add any project goals you had, the description of your community partner, really anything else you want to include. You could add more pictures, but overall this is how you will create your professional poster. Google Slides has lots of different fonts you could use. So if we want this one to stand out more, we could use something like this. That actually looks a lot nicer. Just make sure that you're consistent in your font choices. Don't use too many bullets. And I think these bullets look a little bit too close. So if you come up to the top here, you can move the indent over a little bit and change that so it looks better. There we go. That looks a little better to me. To move your boxes around, so let's say I want to put my picture front and center. I can move my picture around. I can move my reflection over here to the other corner. And it's got guides to show you the edge, guides to show you the center. So let's put this on the edge, and let's shrink this box so it's the same size as the one above it. And we can stretch using this blue box here that's part of this. And these still don't look like they're in a black font to me, so I'm going to click this. They are not. I'm going to click black, and I can shrink this down if I want. I could also make the box a little bit bigger so it sort of matches the others. Let's move the Safe Harbor logo, make it bigger. So that's bigger, so you sort of have 3 columns. And we're going to have to do something to close up some of this white space here. If you want to undo something, there's the undo button. And I'm going to change this font to match my header fonts, change the color to match the subtitle colors. There's a lot of different ways you could go about doing this. It's your poster. Make it unique to you and your group. Just make sure that you are practicing the visual design elements that we've learned about in class: contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity, and uniformity. If you have any questions, feel free to go look at the examples over at the Service Learning Symposium from last year. I've got the link in our D2L class. This has been creating a professional poster in Google Slides.